The purpose of spelling practice is to develop a student's spelling ability through precise, habitual responses to sounds, and to also build the student's confidence in written expressions. As you can see on the screen and in your handout, we're going to be using a daily procedure as we practice spelling this year. Having a procedure establishes structure and provides familiarity as students undertake the risky activity of spelling. In this video, I will cover each step of the procedure and how you should practice spelling at home. On Thursday of week 1, the teacher will introduce the spelling procedure and practice spelling with your child in the classroom. Then they will come home with this pictorial representation of the spelling procedure in the spelling section of their binder. This is the procedure that you will look at and review before each spelling practice that you have at home. Now I will go over each part of the spelling procedure and what you're supposed to say and do on each step. The first step is look and listen. And this is where the student listens to the teacher as she pronounces the word, looking at the mouth of the teacher. The next step is echo and unblend. This is where the student echoes the word and unblends the sounds he or she hears in the word. For example, if the student were spelling the word cup, they would echo the word cup and then unblend k, p. The third step is spell out loud. This is where the student spells the word orally, naming the letters. Now you'll notice that our guy here has letters on his face to kind of make his eyes and nose and mouth and hair and all that. That is to cue the student that on this step they are to give the letter name that represents the sound that they just unblended in the previous step. So if we are going to go with our word cup, here's where they would spell C-U-P. Do not correct any mistakes you might hear during this step. It is important to let the child discover his own mistakes, which will often happen during step 5. The fourth step is name and write. This is where the student writes the word and naming each letter before writing it. Now you probably haven't heard about naming a letter before you write it. However, what this does is it connects the auditory, the kinesthetic, and the visual neural pathways, which helps in cementing memory. So for instance, if we're going with cup, your child would name the letter before they write it. So they would go C, U, P. If cursive is new for your child this year, have them write in manuscript for the first few weeks, maybe even first semester. Spelling isn't a writing exercise, and so we don't want them having to stress over how to form the cursive letter or what it's supposed to look like. We would rather them focus on the actual spelling. So if cursive is a frustrating, not really automatic skill for your child, let them write in manuscript. The final step is code and read. And this can kind of be looked at as proofreading. So the student will code and read the word he or she has spelled to make sure it is written as they planned. Now, as parents, you will not be doing coding, or you will not be required to do coding at home. So the code marks that make up this guy's face might not be familiar to you, and that is okay. What I do want you to do is always underline 2 or more letter phonograms and cross out a silent final E. So when they're writing a word that has a 2-letter phonogram, such as this, and they've written it already, when you go back to code and read this word, they will underline phonogram to TH. And after coding, they will read the word this. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this is a step where a lot of students will catch themselves having misspelled a word, because after they're coding and kind of analyzing the word, they realize that they used a wrong letter or didn't put a letter in that was needed. So if they don't correct themselves during this step, this is when you go back and start questioning them on, can we try a different letter for this sound maybe? Or trying to get them to discover their mistake, because it is more probable that they will remember and learn from that mistake if they discover it on their own. Now I will quickly walk through what a typical day in spelling practice will look like for you at home. You will have your pictorial representation of the spelling procedure out on the desk for the student to refer back to throughout the whole lesson. And before you start, you will always together say the spelling procedure. So you'll start with look and listen, echo and unblend, spell out loud, name and write, and code and read. And this is just to remind the student about the order in which they're doing their spelling practice, and also just kind of gives them some stability of always starting something the same way. After repeating the spelling procedure, you as the teacher will look at the rules applied to the spelling list for that day, and if there's a rule that is covered, then you need to review that. But as we have not learned any rules yet, we'll just go ahead and start with the word. So let's do the word cat. The teacher will say the word cat, and the student will be watching the teacher say that. Then the student will echo and unblend. Cat. K. A. T. Then we will spell it loud. C-A-T. And then they will write C-A-T. And they will code and read. Now here we don't have any two-letter phonograms or a silent final E, so they'll just look and trying to analyze the word each sound, and they will read cat. Now I will go through the procedure without listing the steps, which after a while you will not have to name the steps for your child. So let's spell the word ship. Ship. Sh-I-P. S-H-I-P. S-H-I-P. Underline two-letter phonogram S-H. Ship. Hopefully this is a helpful overview of the spelling procedure, and if you have any further questions, please contact your teacher.